I want Mr. Moro to respond to that. Salman Khurshid saying that nobody is imposing any form of censorship. However, you've come out and said that you're being threatened and intimidated. Is that an exaggeration? Because the Congress is saying we are only taking legal recourse which Sonia Gandhi is entitled to. You fight the case legally.
Well, they wanted me to add a disclaimer in front of the book, and I made no objection of it. Then they wanted me not to sell the rights to the movie. Then they were keeping asking more and more things. So obviously they didn't want an agreement, and it was totally unacceptable. So they imposed censorship in a very subtle way. For example, in scaring away prospective publishers in India. You know, and not only in India, I mean in England also, because nobody wants to have, legal problems with Mrs. Gandhi. So that's how they impose their censorship.
Mr. Moro, the Congress party says you agreed to a disclaimer and then backed out. And secondly,
no,
a lot of the stuff.
The disclaimer is there. I added. It's them who backed out. It's Singhvi backed out.
Okay, the other point that the Congress leaders are making is, and some of them who were witness to that situation, who were present in the Gandhi household at the time of and after Mr. Rajiv Gandhi's death, they say that no such conversation took place. There was no such conversation about Mrs. Gandhi's views on learning Hindi, about her going to Italy, and that all this is cooked up. It's a figment of your imagination.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to tell you one other thing. There was none of the dialogues ever took place, because I entered the dialogues. Of course, I was not there. Like when you watch a movie, like when you watch a TV serial on a famous person, the scriptwriter was not there, and he has been forced to invent those dialogues. But you invent those dialogues based on documentation, on research, on interviews with people who told you, of people who were there. That's what fictionalizing is all about.
But Mr. Moro, you yourself are on record as having said, there's an interview with you in Spanish where you've said that this is a book of non-fiction as belonging to the genre of non-fiction dramatized. You've now come out and contradicted that. You've said it's a book of non-fiction. Suddenly you're saying it's a fictional biography.
In Spanish, the genre of books, it's an oxymoron, but it's true. It's called how you call that? Fiction of non-fiction. It's a total oxymoron, but that's how they call it. To make a difference between a novel which is totally invented and whose characters are totally invented, like The Lord of the Rings, for example, and a novel which is based on true facts.
Okay, let me get Shobha Day's response on this. The lawyer, the author saying that he's written on the basis of interviews and this is a piece of fiction. He calls it a fictional biography. Abhishek Manu Singhvi says a fictional biography is an oxymoron. It can't exist. How can there be fiction and biography at the same time? Where do you stand on this issue, Shobha?
Well, look at it this way, that there are so many fictionalized accounts of Princess Diana's life. There are so many fictionalized accounts of so many great people's lives, whether it's Bill Clinton. Nobody was there in their bedroom to hear what Hillary said to Bill, for example. No one was there with Diana when she was supposedly having all those affairs. And yet there are these books, and it hasn't led to rioting in the streets. Similarly, my premise is very simple. The book, if the Indians are allowed to read it the way it is it going to lead to a law and order situation? Will there be blood on the streets? I've read a lot of portions of the book, and I believe it won't happen. Simply because I think the Indian reader is intelligent, is able to draw his or her own conclusions. The content is so clearly dramatized. It's like Moro said, it's like reading a racy thriller or a racy biography or a telenovela, which necessarily invents dialogues, invents perhaps even certain situations which cannot be legally corroborated. Does that make the book something worth banning or even censoring? Definitely not. In the case of Salman Rushdie's book, yes, maybe there was a point at that stage where there was a fear that it would in fact lead to a very sensitive situation. Maybe it would lead to rioting at the time of satanic verses. There is no such issue here. It's one charismatic lady's life told in a very dramatic way, chronicled in a very dramatic way. It has been an extraordinary life. I think the people of India have a right to read it the way it has been written by one particular author, and I don't think that it's going to lead to any kind of
Mr. Khurshid, would you like to respond to what Shobha Day and Mr. Moro are saying?
Frankly.
Well, I think they're looking at different things altogether. I don't think anyone's talking about writing. I said simply, in our law, an individual is entitled to protect their dignity, and their dignity is to be protected under the law. Lawyers have to do it. Lawyers will have to work out solutions, possibly negotiate settlements, or matters go to court. Now that's all that is happening. Now if somebody believes that they have been defamed, or their friends believe that they have been defamed, they have a right. They have a right to press for relief. That's all. Why are we bringing in censorship? Why are we bringing in writing? Why are we bringing in right of somebody to read or not? Somebody's right to read is completely different from somebody's right to their dignity. Now, what is the line? What are the contours? What are the limits, etc.? This is something that the law quite clearly defines, and everybody knows it. Now, I think the author knows it, and other people know it.